Hello world! Welcome and welcome back to the channel, where today I have a bonus video for you guys. So, Spotify Wrapped season is upon us once again, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to create 3 character designs inspired by the first 3 months of my 2024 music evolution, since the keywords used for these categories are very evocative of different aesthetics or subcultures. Without further ado, let's start! In order for me to design characters based off my Spotify Wrapped, we of course need to open the Spotify app and go straight to the 2024 music evolution, starting with our first character who will be based off of January's summary. And the keywords I got for this piece of my listening history are Kidcore Soda Pop Feature Funk. Sounds fun, let's get drawing! One thing I've been doing lately when designing characters is starting the process by first creating a mood board using Pura, which, if this is your first time hearing about it, is a pay-what-you-want desktop program that allows you to easily keep all of your references in one canvas. I first used it in my turning video game genres into original characters video, and I used it again to create mood boards for all 3 of the characters I'll be drawing in this video right here. And let me tell you, this program is a total game changer. I cannot emphasize enough how convenient it is to have all of my reference images dragged and dropped from the web onto one canvas instead of scrolling up and down a Notion page I pinned all my references to, or clicking in between 7 different tabs or windows open on my desktop. Seriously, having the drawing I'm making on my tablet screen, my mood board on my desktop monitor, and an inspirational art video playing next to it in split screen mode feels like I've made it in achieving my digital workspace setup, and I can't wait to use this program again for all my creative projects going forward. This isn't a sponsored video, I just love PureRef, and I think you'll love it too. You may notice I have some album covers on the top of the mood board along with some color swatches directly underneath them. Because Spotify Wrapped has different songs you listen to the most frequently playing throughout your listening summary, I thought it would be fun to take the albums of the songs that played in each of the 2024 music evolution segments and extract color palettes from them so that I could directly pick from them when determining my character's color schemes. Ironically, I ended up not doing this at all when the time came to color everybody, and I basically just went off of vibes, but I did give this character's earrings the shape of that blobby looking room in one of the album covers. For what it's worth, the song that played for this first part was Desolate by 𝚜𝚎𝚑𝚎𝚎, which is sampled from 𝚘𝚘𝚎𝚑𝚎𝚎 by Tomoko Aran in her album Last Goodbye. So earlier I mentioned my video where I made OCs out of game genres, and I really want to apologize for not getting the video uploaded in time. I kind of had a rough start to this month, which meant that despite me trying my best to finish my video before my deadline, I didn't succeed. Hence why I pushed it back to today and decided to make this bonus video to go up at the same time as a token of apology. So character number 1 was a lot of fun to design and find references for, and she came together really quickly. When I knew I would be taking inspiration from Kidcore aesthetic, I knew right away that she would be really young, like about kindergarten age, and then make her as disgustingly cute and decorated as I possibly could. Turning the straps of her overalls into crayons was such a galaxy brain move that I couldn't resist. So obviously I took a lot of inspiration from Kidcore, and combining it with Feature Funk was a lot of fun. I put a bunch of retro Memphis patterns across her clothes, and gave her an old school cassette player and some headphones. Even the specific shape of her side locks was directly inspired by the streamers that are such a common visual aesthetic in Aizen Suzuki's artwork, which is such a huge staple of the 80s anime arts. Trying to incorporate the soda pop keyword had me a little stumped. The first place my mind went to was the Soda Pop girls from the original Yummy Land doll line, which is where I drew inspiration for some parts of her outfit, like her hair accessories. But other than that, I was kind of lost. Because Feature Funk is so heavily associated with Japanese city pop, I decided to start looking at Ramune Soda specifically, which not only led me to discover the Night Ramune anime series, from which I took various design cues throughout the drawing process. But since one of the Kidcore references I included in my mood board had a picture of a sippy cup, I knew right away that I had to give that to the character, so that classic Ramune marble could be incorporated in the top of the cup. It made way too much sense. I also gave her dual colored hair in a very round bubbly pattern to evoke the image of an effervescent soft drink. All things considered, this first piece was surprisingly not that difficult to color despite there being so many different areas I had to manage, just because I knew right away that I wanted her colors to be very bright and pastel, so I had those restrictions set for me. Plus I already settled on denim overalls and a rainbow striped shirt for her clothing, which meant everything else was just accents with her hair as the focal point, and using the colors I wanted her hair to be was the hardest part of drawing her. Don't tell personality one, I still wanted to add even more details to her, but had to cut them out so she wouldn't look too outrageous. This definitely was a pleasant surprise, given how hard I struggled with coloring other characters recently. Looking at you, Gordon. But yeah, going back to my other character design video, I found myself not getting quite as attached to these Spotify characters as I did my video game ones. They were basically only created for this video, so there's no personalities, stories, or plans for them to come back in future art, I'm afraid. However, the minimum I could do was at least bless each character with a name, so this first one's named Niji, which on the off chance that you're a normie is the Japanese word for rainbow, since rainbows are obviously such a pervasive element throughout her design. I was tempted to name her Ramone, and even though I thought it was really cute and fitting, Niji just felt more appropriate. And I think that's basically everything I have to say about this character, so let's move on to the next one. Alright, what do we have here? I cut out the music for these segments to be safe, but there's Momoko Kikuchi singing in the background, so that means we have another J-pop coded character on our hands, which is a good sign. Ooh, we got Frutiger, Aero, jam band, city pop. Okay, this is going to be interesting. I wonder how this will turn out. So if you've been on my YouTube channel for more than 2 seconds, you can tell that I really like city pop aesthetic and I'm very passionate about Frutiger Aero as well. In fact, I'm working on a secret project that is heavily inspired by Frutiger Aero, and I've already built up a database of reference images for that endeavor. So it was pretty neat to have both of these keywords determine which character I will be drawing. Jam band, on the other hand, I didn't really have a clear idea about what to do with at first, since when I was trying to look up reference images, I basically kept getting photos of Pearl Jam concerts. To address that keyword in the summary, I just gave her a guitar case to hold, which was good enough for me. I think it helps her pop off the canvas, and it was pretty fun to decorate later on too. Trying to combine city pop with Frutiger Aero was a really interesting challenge, since these designs are kind of opposites to each other. City pop is rooted in analog and old school retro tech, while Frutiger Aero is all about glossy, high definition graphics and the future. Plus, city pop is tied closer to cool colors, and Frutiger Aero is associated with warm colors. So I had a lot of fun getting these aesthetics to work with each other. On top of that, I also needed to set this character apart from Niji as much as I could, since future funk music samples a lot of city pop songs, so there was a lot of potential for the two of them to be very samey. The most obvious change I made was aging up this character significantly, and when I made that decision to approach her in this way, I knew right away that I wanted to dress her in very bodycon reminiscent clothing, and from there that helped me figure out a lot with what kinds of other elements I wanted to incorporate with her outfit. Making her an older character also in a way kind of ties in with this different time period her outfit represents compared to Niji, since it's so heavily rooted in an idealized version of the future. And since I gave Niji a cassette player, of course I had to give this character an iPod to wear as a leg strap. I associate Frutiger Aero fashion with sleek, form-fitting looks, and I think that kind of clothing shines the best when it's paired with oversized puffy layers that go on top and enhance the silhouette, which is why I gave her this futuristic-looking varsity-inspired jacket. With that in mind, another challenge arose because I wanted to retain this very clean and minimalistic aspect of her design by not having her dress or boots break the silhouette of her body, but I didn't want her to look too sterile either, so I kept trying to find ways to carve more interesting shapes into her outfit by adding different colors or cutouts in certain areas. I was kind of at war with myself about whether her design was too plain or if I was actually happy with it, since I didn't want to overwork the details or else she would be within striking distance of being too similar to Niji in all of her who's its and what's its galore. Looking at her now, I think the final result looks good and she balances out Niji well. It doesn't hurt that I've been rereading my entire Sailor Moon manga collection while I was working on this video, so I was feeling really inspired and all of those tasty vintage shoujo designs were being burned into my brain, so I really wanted to draw something of my own that was evocative of that. Also, I chose to name this character Metro, after the urban settings that are synonymous with city pop, as well as the Frutiger Aero subcategory Frutiger Metro. I was almost tempted to name her Momoko as a reference to Momoko Kikuchi, since the music that was playing in the background for this part of the music evolution was I Am a Killer Story from when she was still part of Ramu, and I'm also just absolutely obsessed with her music. She's my Oshi, and her voice and her songs are nothing short of soul purifying. The more I read back on this part of my script, the more I realize I'm not so different from this guy. Anyway, her name is Metro. It's not Momoko, it's Metro. Coloring her was pretty fun too. I really loved using all of these bright, vibrant colors and assigning different temperatures to different areas of her outfit. Although working with her orange hair was kind of tricky because I felt like she was looking too similar to Nami from One Piece at some parts. I'm not entirely sure what possessed me to make the teal parts of her dress and earrings glow, or if it necessarily has anything to do with either City Pop or Frutiger Aero, but I think it looks awesome. So that completes Metro's design. Now let's see what our third and final month of the music evolution has in store for us. Okay, which cute character are we going to design next? Come on, big money, no whammies! Sure, why not? Right off the bat, this was the hardest character I had to design for this video, bar none. Just from the planning stage, I had a really hard time deciding what direction I wanted to take it in, since my initial ideas were basically clones of the eyeball mask members of the Residents or of Slender Man. Not only was this character going to be wildly different from the others in the ensemble by virtue of how different this month of my music roundup was from the previous two, but Weirdcore Noise Experimental wasn't a selection of keywords that gave me a lot to work with. Part of what made Niji and Metro so fun to design was because the aesthetics in their summaries were such juxtapositions, like Kidcore and Feature Funk, or City Pop and Frutiger Aero. But for this character, everything was in such a homogeneous zone that I wasn't entirely sure from the beginning how I could make its design interesting. So after puzzling over my mood board, I had a little bit of an understanding for what I wanted to accomplish with this design. First, some of the pictures I included were upside down landscape photos, so I wanted at least one part of the design to also be upside down, which in this case was its face. There's one picture I included near the very bottom of my mood board showing a deer with multiple glowing eyes, and I took inspiration directly from that. And I also tried to make each eye look different, like they all have differently shaped pupils from each other. Sometimes the irises and pupils would be splitting in two in the same eyeball, like some kind of horrible scopophobic mitosis. Because the face turned out so small, and with the glowing effect I added to the eyes later on, I don't think you can see all the details I drew for the eyes, which may be a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not sure. Next, there was one picture that really jumped out to me of someone's arms looking super long and thin and stretched out, which inspired me to have this character be similarly lengthy to an almost distorted degree. You can kind of see that I initially sketched his head to be a very long oval in keeping with this idea before I changed it to something more jagged, and that was because I wanted its head to look like a waveform, which I thought would help it look even more uncanny. This is retained with the body proportions and hands though, and to push this even further, I gave the fingers extra bones to support its length, which just makes it look super creepy. Lastly, I wanted to incorporate lighter colors in this design so that these darker and more void-like elements that I wanted to incorporate would stand out more. You could probably tell right from the beginning that my first instinct was to put a rainbow gradient over its body as a base, since there's a lot of lens flares and bright colors in Weirdcore, but I temporarily backpedaled away from this and went for a blood red color with chalky flesh tone accents on its skin and fingers, which ended up actually being really disturbing and freaking me out too much. Like, it just kept reminding me of the boiled one and I couldn't handle it. I needed to change it to something else. The rendering process was surprisingly difficult. I wanted to add different effects to make it look more abstract, but I needed to be careful or else it would be too hard to see the form of the character, so I couldn't go too crazy with noise or chromatic aberration filters and the like as much as I wanted to. My intention wasn't for this character to look necessarily scary, just very uncanny, like you take one look at it and immediately get a sense that something isn't right. I imagine that if these characters were to exist in a story, Niji and Metro are magical girls, and this one will be a kind of monster they're supposed to fight. Also, I decided to name this character Serif because Serif and sans serif seem to be common fonts used in some of these Weirdcore edits. And that's it for this week's bonus video. If you're watching this the day it goes live, I hope you enjoy getting to see me design 6 different characters in one day along with my video game genre OCs. If you have a Spotify rap, let me know what descriptors were used for your 2024 music evolution because I'm genuinely curious to know. For now, it's time for me to shut this video down. Make sure to give boba cats some pats, snacks, and playtime before you log out, and head to the description of this video to find links for every other corner of cyberspace I'm on. Thanks for letting me chat with you, and until next time,
Merry Chrysler!